The Inca Empire, also known as the Incan Empire, was the largest empire in pre-Columbian America. The administrative, political, and military center of the empire was located in Cusco in modern-day Peru. The Inca civilization arose from the highlands of Peru sometime in the early 13th century, and the last Inca stronghold was conquered by the Spanish in 1572. From 1438 to 1533, the Incas used a variety of methods, from conquest to peaceful assimilation, to incorporate a large portion of western South America, centered on the Andean mountain ranges, including, besides Peru, large parts of modern Ecuador, western and south-central Bolivia, northwest Argentina, north and central Chile, and a small part of southern Colombia into a state comparable to the historical empires of Eurasia. The official language of the empire was Quechua, although hundreds of local languages and dialects of Quechua were spoken. Many local forms of worship persisted in the empire, most of them concerning local sacred huacas. But the Inca leadership encouraged the worship of Inti, their sun god, and imposed its sovereignty above other cults such as that of Pachamama. The Incas considered their king, the Sapa Inca, to be the son of the sun. Name. The Inca referred to their empire as Tawantinsuyu, the four Suyo. In Quechua, Tawa is four and Ntin is a suffix naming a group, so that a Tawantin is a quartet, a group of four things taken together. The empire was divided into four Suyo, whose corners met at the capital, Cusco. The four Suyo were Chinche Suyo, Anti Suyo, Cola Suyo and Conti Suyo. The name Tawantinsuyu was, therefore, a descriptive term indicating a union of provinces. The Spanish transliterated the name as Tahuatinshuyo or Tahuatinshuyu. The term Inca means ruler or lord in Quechua and was used to refer to the ruling class or the ruling family in the empire. The Spanish adopted the term as an ethnic term referring to all subjects of the empire rather than simply the ruling class. As such, the name Imperia Inca referred to the nation that they encountered, and subsequently conquered. History. Origin. Inca oral history mentions three possible places as three caves. The center cave, Tambo Toco, was named for Capas Toco. The other caves were Maris Toco and Sutic Toco. Four brothers and four sisters stepped out of the middle cave. They were Ayamanco, Ayakasha, Ayurauca, and Ayachu, and Mamarokyo, Mamaraua, Mimawaka, and Mamakora. Out of the side caves came the people who were to be the ancestors of all the clans of the Inca people. Ayamanco carried a magic staff made of the finest gold. Where this staff landed, the people would all live there. They traveled for a very, very long time. On the way, Ayakasha was boasting about his great strength and power, and his siblings tricked him into returning to the cave to get a sacred llama. When he went into the cave, they trapped him inside to get rid of him. Ayachu decided to stay on the top of the cave to look over the Inca people. The minute he proclaimed that, he turned to stone. They built his shrine around the stone and it became a sacred object. Ayurauca grew tired of all this and decided to travel alone. Only Ayamanco and his four sisters remained. Finally, they reached Cusco. The staff sank into the ground. Before they reached here, Mimaokyo had already borne Ayamanco a child, Sinchi Roca. The people who were already living in Cusco fought hard to keep their land, but Mama Waka was a good fighter. When the enemy attacked, she threw her bolas at a soldier, and killed him instantly. The other people were so scared, they ran away. After that, Ayamanco became known as Manco Capac, the founder of the Inca. It is said that he and his sisters built the first Inca homes in the valley with their own hands. When the time came, Manco Capac turned to stone like his brothers before him. His son, Sinchi Roca, became the second emperor of the Inca kingdom of Cusco. We can assure your majesty that it is so beautiful and has such fine buildings that it would even be remarkable in Spain. Francisco Pizarro. The Inca people were a pastoral tribe in the Cusco area around the 12th century. Under the leadership of Manco Capac, they formed the small city-state Kingdom of Cusco. In 1438, they began a far-reaching expansion under the command of Sapa Inca Pachacuta Yupanqui, whose name literally meant earth shaker. The name of Pachacuta was given to him after conquering over the tribe of Chankish. During his reign, he and his son Tupac Yupanqui brought much of the Andes Mountains under Inca control. Reorganization and formation. Pachacuta reorganized the Kingdom of Cusco into the Tahuantinsuyu, which consisted of a central government with the Inca at its head and 4 provincial governments with strong leaders: Chinchasuyu, Antisuyu, Kuntasuyu, and Quisuyu. Pachacuta is also thought to have built Machu Picchu, either as a family home or as a summer retreat, although there is speculation that Machu Picchu was constructed as an agricultural station. Pachacuta sent spies to regions he wanted in his empire. They brought reports on the political organization, military might and wealth. He would then send messages to the leaders of these lands extolling the benefits of joining his empire, offering them presents of luxury goods such as high-quality textiles, and promising that they would be materially richer as subject rulers of the Inca. Most accepted the rule of the Inca as a fait accompli and acquiesced peacefully. The rulers' children would then be brought to Cusco to be taught about Inca administration systems, then return to rule their native lands. This allowed the Inca to indoctrinate the former rulers' children into the Inca nobility, and, with luck, marry their daughters into families at various corners of the empire. Expansion and consolidation. Traditionally, the Inca's son led the army. Pachacuta's son Tupac Inca Yupanqui began conquests to the north in 1463, and continued them as Inca after Pachacuta's death in 1471. His most important conquest was the kingdom of Chimor, the Inca's only serious rival for the coast of Peru. Tupac Inca's empire stretched north into modern-day Ecuador and Colombia. Tupac Inca's son Huayna Capac added a small portion of land to the north in modern-day Ecuador and in parts of Peru. At its height, the Inca Empire included Peru and Bolivia, most of what is now Ecuador, a large portion of what is today Chile north of the Maule River in central Chile. The advance south halted after the Battle of the Maule, where they met determined resistance by the Mapuche. The empire's push into the Amazon basin near the Chinchipe River was pushed back by the Shuar in 1527. The empire also extended into corners of Argentina and Colombia. However, most of the southern portion of the Inca Empire, the portion denominated as Quisuyu, was located in the Altiplano. The Inca Empire was an amalgamation of languages, cultures and peoples. The components of the empire were not all uniformly loyal, nor were the local cultures all fully integrated. The Inca Empire as a whole had an economy based on exchange and taxation of luxury goods and labor. The following quote reflects a method of taxation. For as is well known to all, not a single village of the highlands or the plains failed to pay the tribute levied on it by those who were in charge of these matters. There were even provinces where, when the natives alleged that they were unable to pay their tribute, the Inca ordered that each inhabitant should be obliged to turn in every 4 months a large quillful of live lice, which was the Inca's way of teaching and accustoming them to pay tribute. Inca Civil War and Spanish Conquest. Spanish conquistadors led by Francisco Pizarro and his brothers explored south from what is today Panama, reaching Inca territory by 1526. It was clear that they had reached a wealthy land with prospects of great treasure, and after one more expedition in 1529, Pizarro traveled to Spain and received royal approval to conquer the region and be its viceroy. This approval was received as detailed in the following quote. In July 1529, the Queen of Spain signed a charter allowing Pizarro to conquer the Incas. Pizarro was named governor and captain of all conquests in Peru, or New Castile, as the Spanish now called the land, when they returned to Peru in 1532. A war of the two brothers between Huayna Capac's sons Huascar and Atahualpa, and unrest among newly conquered territories, and perhaps more importantly, smallpox, which had spread from Central America, had considerably weakened the empire. Pizarro did not have a formidable force, with just 168 men, 1 cannon and 27 horses. He often needed to talk his way out of potential confrontations that could have easily wiped out his party. The Spanish horsemen, fully armored, had great technological superiority over the Inca forces. The traditional mode of battle in the Andes was a kind of siege warfare where large numbers of usually reluctant draftees were sent to overwhelm opponents. The Spaniards had developed one of the finest military machines in the pre-modern world. Tactics learned in their centuries-long fight against Moorish kingdoms in Iberia. Along with this tactical and material superiority, the Spaniards also had acquired tens of thousands of native allies who sought to end the Inca control of their territories. Their first engagement was the Battle of Puna, near present-day Guayaquil, Ecuador. On the Pacific coast, Pizarro then founded the city of Pura in July 1532. Hernando de Soto was sent inland to explore the interior and returned with an invitation to meet the Inca, Atahualpa, who had defeated his brother in the Civil War and was resting at Cajamarca with his army of 80,000 troops. Pizarro and some of his men, most notably a friar named Vicente de Valverde, met with the Inca, who had brought only a small retinue. Through an interpreter, Friar Vicente read the requerimiento that demanded that he and his empire accept the yoke of King Charles I of Spain and convert to Christianity. Because of the language barrier and perhaps poor interpretation, Atahualpa became somewhat puzzled by the friar's description of Christian faith and was said to have not fully understood the envoy's intentions. After Atahualpa attempted further inquiry into the doctrines of the Christian faith under which Pizarro's envoy served, the Spanish became frustrated and impatient, attacking the Inca's retinue and capturing Atahualpa as hostage. Atahualpa offered the Spaniards enough gold to fill the room he was imprisoned in, and twice that amount of silver. The Inca fulfilled this ransom, but Pizarro deceived him, refusing to release the Inca afterwards. During Atahualpa's imprisonment, Huascar was assassinated elsewhere. The Spaniards maintained that this was at Atahualpa's orders. This was used as one of the charges against Atahualpa when the Spaniards finally decided to put him to death. In August 1533, last Incas, the Spanish installed Atahualpa's brother Manco Inca Yupanqui in power. For some time Manco cooperated with the Spanish, while the Spanish fought to put down resistance in the north. Meanwhile, an associate of Pizarro's, Diego de Almagro, attempted to claim Cusco for himself. Manco tried to use this intra-Spanish feud to his advantage, recapturing Cusco in 1536, but the Spanish retook the city afterwards. Manco Inca then retreated to the mountains of Vilcabamba and established the small Neo-Inca state, where he and his successors ruled for another 36 years, sometimes raiding the Spanish or inciting revolts against them. In 1572 the last Inca stronghold was conquered, and the last ruler, Tupac Amaru, Manco's son, was captured and executed. This ended resistance to the Spanish conquest under the political authority of the Inca state. After the fall of the Inca Empire, many aspects of Inca culture were systematically destroyed, including their sophisticated farming system, known as the vertical archipelago model of agriculture. Spanish colonial officials used the Inca meta corvée labor system for colonial aims, sometimes brutally. One member of each family was forced to work in the gold and silver mines, the foremost of which was the Titanic silver mine at Potosi. When a family member died, which would usually happen within a year or two, the family would be required to send a replacement. The effects of smallpox on the Inca Empire were even more devastating. Beginning in Colombia, smallpox spread rapidly before the Spanish invaders first arrived in the empire. The spread was probably aided by the efficient Inca road system. Within a few years, smallpox claimed between 60% and 94% of the Inca population, with other waves of European disease weakening them further. Smallpox was only the first epidemic. Typhus in 1546, influenza and smallpox together in 1558, smallpox again in 1589, diphtheria in 1614, measles in 1618 all ravaged the remains of Inca culture, society, population. There is some debate about the number of people inhabiting Tawantinsuyu at its peak, with estimates ranging from as few as 4 million people to more than 37 million. The reason for these various estimates is that in spite of the fact that the Inca kept excellent census records using their quipu, knowledge of how to read them has been lost, and almost all of them had been destroyed by the Spaniards in the course of their conquest. Language. Since the Inca Empire lacked a written language, the empire's main form of communication and recording came from quipus, ceramics and spoken Quechua, the language the Incas imposed upon the peoples within the empire. The plethora of civilizations in the Andean region provided for a general disunity that the Incas needed to subdue in order to maintain control of the empire. While Quechua had been spoken in the Andean region, like central Peru, for several years prior to the expansion of the Inca civilization, the type of Quechua the Incas imposed was an adaptation from the Kingdom of Cusco of what some historians define as the Cusco dialect. The language imposed by the Incas further diverted from its original phonetic tone as some societies formed their own regional varieties, or slang. The diversity of Quechua at that point and even today does not come as a direct result from the Incas, who are just a part of the reason for Quechua's diversity. The civilizations within the empire that had previously spoken Quechua kept their own variety distinct from the Quechua the Incas spread. Although these dialects of Quechua have a similar linguistic structure, they differ according to the region in which they are spoken. Although most of the societies within the empire implemented Quechua into their lives, the Incas allowed several societies to keep their old languages such as Aymara, which still remains a spoken language in contemporary Bolivia where it is the primary indigenous language in various regions of South America surrounding Bolivia. The linguistic body of the Inca Empire was thus largely varied, but it still remains quite an achievement for the Incas that went beyond their time as the Spanish continued the use of Quechua. Religion. Inca myths were an oral tradition until early Spanish colonists recorded them. However, some scholars believe that they may have been recorded on quipus, Andean knotted string records. The Inca believed in reincarnation. Death was a passage to the next world that was full of difficulties. The spirit of the dead, Camacuen, would need to follow a long dark road, and during the trip the assistance of a black dog that was able to see in the dark was required. Most Incas imagined the afterworld to be very similar to the Euro-American notion of heaven, with flower-covered fields and snow-capped mountains. It was important for the Inca to ensure they did not die as a result of burning or that the body of the deceased did not become incinerated. This is because of the underlying belief that a vital force would disappear and threaten the passage to the afterworld. Those who obeyed the Inca moral code, Ama Suwa, Ama Lula, Ama Quella, went to live in the sun's warmth while others spent their eternal days in the cold earth. The Inca also practiced cranial deformation. They achieved this by wrapping tight cloth straps around the heads of newborns in order to alter the shape of their soft skulls into a more conical form. This cranial deformation was made to distinguish social classes of the communities, with only the nobility having cranial deformation. The Incas made human sacrifices, As many as 4,000 servants, court officials, favorites, and concubines were killed upon the death of the Inca Huayna Capac in 1527, for example. The Incas also performed child sacrifices during or after important events, such as the death of the Sapa Inca or during a famine. These sacrifices were known as Capacoca. Deities Viracocha created all living things. Apu Ilapu, rain god, prayed to when they need rain. Ayakasha, hot-tempered god, causes earthquakes. Ilapa, goddess of lightning and thunder. Inti, sun god and patron deity of the holy city of Cusco. Kuiki, rainbow god, connected with fertility. Mimakilia, wife of Inti, called moon mother. Mimaro Cclo, wisdom to civilize the people, taught women to weave cloth and build houses. Manco Capac, known for his courage and sent to earth to become first king of the Incas, taught people how to grow plants, make weapons, work together, share resources, and worship the gods. Pachamama, the goddess of earth and wife of Viracocha. People give her offerings of coca leaves and beer and pray to her for major agricultural occasions. Ochamama, goddess of the sea. Sachamama, means mother tree, goddess in the shape of a snake with two heads. Yakamama means mother water, represented as a snake. When she came to earth she transformed into a great river. Economy. The economy of the Inca Empire has been characterized as involving a high degree of central planning. While evidence of trade between the Inca Empire and outside regions has been uncovered, there is no evidence that the Incas had a substantial internal market economy. While lax monies were used along the northern coast, presumably by the provincial Mindili trading class, most inhabitants of the empire would have lived in a traditional economy in which male heads of household were required to pay taxes both in kind, and in the form of the mite corvée labor and military obligations, though barter was also present in some areas. In return, the state provided security, food in times of hardship through the supply of emergency resources, agricultural projects to increase productivity, and occasional feasts. The economy rested on the material foundations of the vertical archipelago, a system of ecological complementarity in accessing resources, and the cultural foundation of aini, or reciprocal exchange.